Dustin Rhodes versus the computerized man of the 1990s, Terence Taylor.
The computer's back.
Computer's back, baby.
Is it turned on? I don't know. I didn't see it turned on.
I think it is turned on.
Is it turned on?
I saw it turned on
Oh,
at various
no.
points. But she's also handed to it by 4 like Wall Street men.
Yeah.
And again, this is an attempt to WWFify it. Like you go, we've got loads of people and we can do set
Endless
dressing.
people.
Look, we've got 4 people in suits.
Wow.
Like you might see on
They would have had to buy that.
15th of a tube train if you came to London once. There they are, but they hand it over to her.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that said that is so they could have it charged until the last minute.
Oh, because the
And
battery's
then,
in.
there you go. It'll be on this time. Out she comes. Now, Terence Taylor comes out and he looks fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
He looks great. He comes out with Mr. Hughes. The bodyguard is with him. Alexandra York is leading the way. They've given him a proper gimmick and they've given him a proper entrance.
Yeah.
And he is absolutely fucked because he has been booked against the Booker's son.
Yes.
There was always stuff that I'd sort of missed about the nepotism.
Are you losing? Are you losing your love for D. Rhodes?
I did not like this at all. I found this so blatant.
Right.
And so.
yeah. It was a lot more overt than it was last time.
Yeah. And what there was as well was there was a horrible thing of Dusty Rhodes' hand, not just being on the sense of I am dictating my son's career and rise through the business that I control. He would also continually be talking about how he would stick up for his son. And it was that thing of one of the conditions that he was brought in as the booker of WCW by Jim Herd in 1991 was that he could not go in the ring. Because what he's doing here is this is absolute transference of what he would have done with himself.
Yeah.
I can't push myself, Daddy. So who is the next best thing? It is my own flesh and blood. My seed, he says at one point. My seed. Dustin Rhodes. And so even when Dustin is doing this, Dusty is incapable of not bigging himself up because he is watching this match through the prism of this at least is a part of me.
Yeah.
And he begins to say things like, they'll be wrestling and we'll be like, they better not cheat because I can only sit out here so long. And it's all that hint of he's slightly laying the groundwork for him to come back.
Jimbo, he needs to get over there now.
Mr. Hughes coming up the
I can only sit out here so long. He needs to get over there.
And I did listen to this, and there's always been nepotism in wrestling is gross because it's the one thing that ability should get you forward, and the one thing everyone has is to a certain degree that level playing field.
Yeah.
But promoters always push their kids. Vern Gagne in the AWA pushed Greg. Later, Bill Watts in WCW will push his son Eric Watts. Dustin Rhodes is being pushed here, and Dustin Rhodes is a year into a career. He's really green. The crowd like him, but they like him because of the association with Dusty Rhodes.
He's better than he was last time I saw him, to be fair.
He becomes a really, really good wrestler. It's just watching this, I found it. There was something about Dusty being a big cuck, a big American cuck daddy, because he's unable to perform. So he is using a proxy, which he is watching, and he is delighting in imagining it was him there.
Yeah.
And that was a sort of horrible sexual game.
With his own son.
Football player, I want to introduce you to Dustin Rhodes. This is my son. And the legacy of the American dream lives in this kid's heart. And what he don't know, I'm sure we gonna teach him. And the bottom line is, when it came time for Dustin to go out on his own and not become Junior. He's not Junior. His name is Dustin.
I can imagine that Dustin Rhodes must have found it difficult. And you'd listen back to this, and you are a grown man in a tough business, and you've got your dad talking about... I mean, there's loads of sort of... He comes out in a USA jacket as well, which is another cheap fucking pop. And I'm sure other people would be like, shall I wear my USA jacket? And Dusty's like, no, don't wear it. Don't need that. You just need your gimmick to get over. And there's Dustin in his fucking USA jacket, an extra little bit of rub. And Dusty's constantly going, he said to me, Dad, I just want to do this thing myself. And it's like, this is like a guilty conscience talking. And the lines that you're saying are really the criticism that you've heard.
Yes.
And you're just throwing it back. He said to me, Dad, I don't know anything about computers. All I know is what you taught me all through my life. But win, lose, or draw, I love him. He's still my son. What are you... I mean...
But one thing for sure, win, lose, or draw, I love him. He's my son. This is going to be a big moment for him tonight because it's a test against Terry Taylor.
It's like having your dad turn up at your fucking work. and you're sitting there and you're just going, I'll make sure I'll get that back. And him going, yeah, I taught him everything I know.
Not about computers.
Tell you what, he might look like an arsehole, but I tell you what, I love him. I love him. He's my son and I love him.
Nothing about computers, daddy, but...
I know that Dustin told me this morning, he said, Dad, I don't know anything about computers. All I know is what you taught me all through the life. I know this is the biggest match of my career tonight at SuperBrawl. And Terry Taylor, and he gave me a big old hug. Better be ready.
He just puts him over the whole match. And that's the issue, is that you've got Terence Taylor, and that gimmick was good. They'd actually got it to a point where they could have done something with that. And I don't think it would have gone sky high or anything. It probably was at the level it was going to get to. But they kill it stone dead in a match where all Dusty does is just... Even when Dustin's like standing up and they do a move, rather than just go, it's against the arm lock, you know, Taylor is going to have to do this. Dusty is just going, Dustin was ready for that hold. They was absolutely ready for the hold. Yeah, ready for it. It's just like, stop it. Stop it. It's too much, you know. Mr. Hughes goes to punch Dustin Rhodes wearing a black glove. Nothing. It's not bulky or anything.
No,
it's just a
black glove,
tight black glove.
One of those fancy latex ones you see.
Yeah. Like you used to get fingerless gloves in the 80s that you'd wear to a school disco once.
Yes.
They were the coolest. And they'd have cut out knuckles.
Madonna. Oh, yeah, okay.
No, I was like Big Daddy Dink.
Oh, right, sorry.
My high school prom.
And then I went to stand around a burning barrel with some old men.
He goes to hit Dustin, he hits Terence Taylor, and Dusty pins him. Great victory! Great victory for my kid! Dustin Rhodes. It's so on the fucking nose. And I did watch this, and I did think it was awkward for Dustin. I thought it was, if you were Dusty Rhodes' bosses, you would listen to that and you would just go, I felt uncomfortable about Dustin being on this massive push.
Yeah.
But hearing the commentary of just this horrible dad vicariously living. I mean, he had such a glorious wrestling career, but living a second career.
Oh, it's a Sunday afternoon, soccer match,
isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Remember, your daddy is the best of all time. Yeah. It was.
It's not unknown in football, to be honest. You'll get managers signing their own sons, and
crazy, isn't it?
It rarely works. Nigel Clough, maybe a little bit.
My dad did everything he could to ensure I did not go into the same line of work as him, because he was an accountant and he hated every single day he went to work.
Yeah.
That is better than if he'd have dragged me.
That's what I don't understand. That's
to Ealing, and I'd been in a tower block, and he'd be going, the best kid is with numbers in the world.
It's my boy.
Yeah, it's my boy.
He knows nothing about computers. Can't fucking hear them.
Everything I learned about this business, I learned from my daddy. Are you asleep? Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Did you even do your sitting, girls? No, I did not, Daddy. I could not turn on the M thread.
Turned around, brought it home right here. You see the cover, you get the 1, 2, 3. Great victory for my kid, Dustin Rhodes.
I was got to keep you tied to your seat here just a minute, Dad. Kind of got carried away there.
I'll tell you what, it's like Father's Day there for a minute.
I'll tell you something.
Nikita Koloff, the Russian Nightmare, against Tommy Rich.
Why is Nikita Koloff the Russian Nightmare? They say he's from Lithuania.
Yeah.
They've chosen that recently. They've just declared independence.
Yep.
So why call him the Russian Nightmare?
Well, he used to be a Russian.
Yeah, but...
The Lithuania thing, I think he was billed as being from Lithuania because they thought that was Russian sounding.
Right.
But they didn't want to just go from Moscow.
Right.
Because it was too on the nose.
Too on the nose, right.
Lithuania made it sound like it might be genuine.
Lithuania was the first breakaway, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
But, do you know, I've also got a feeling that like Nikolai Volkov was never billed as being from Russia. I think he was billed as being from Lithuania. But Nikolai Volkov, the WWF wrestler, he'd fled the Soviet sort of...
so he enjoyed the idea of being a heel, didn't he?
Yeah, he did, because he wanted people to hate the Russians.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it does not apply to Nikita Koloff, who is from Minneapolis, whose real name was Scott Simpson.
Yeah.
Ric Flair, I hope you training hard. I know how you like to party. You see, I training hard. Many times you come out here and you say good things about Nikita. How you say, try and stay on Nikita's good side.
He does do a very good Russian voice in this, and I know that's his job, but when he's sometimes shouting, you really wouldn't go, that is someone doing a Russian voice, because maybe it's because it's so sort of weird and bad. There's a bit where he just goes, and you sort of go, if you were trying to pretend to be a Russian, you'd definitely go, Oleg Saluga.
Roll your R's.
Yeah, you got one at the end.
Tommy Rich.
For the United States heavyweight title.
Luger! You know, Jim Ross, Hey, Luger!
He's good at biting heads off dolls.
Luger!
He's
Come
up there
on, baby, let's see what you're made of!
Well, Nikita Koloff up on our interview area.
Show me what you're made of!
Lex Luger is going there now, ladies and gentlemen. Luger and Koloff really kicking it. This guy has got great courage, great desire.
Jim Ross says, great courage that Tommy Rich has, which again is sort of shorthand for his days are numbered. It's almost saying he is outclassed, does not belong here, but he shows great courage, courage.
Tommy Rich, enjoyably, he's got like crazy pants, but the colours are too similar, so it looks like he's wet himself.
He does, yeah. He's got terrible... He had this period, a wide variety of gold, blue and pink, I think he had, and a very lavender one, all of which looked like they'd been stained with piss. He had basically got the pattern that looks like piss, and he'd had them made loads and loads of times. The funny thing about that is if you have two pairs that look like it, you go, oh, look, it's obviously the design. If all of them are like that, it also opens the window that, you might be just dribbling everywhere. The
dribbler.
Nikita Koloff comes into no music as well, which I like. I like the idea that he's not quite like your other pro wrestlers.
And he's not been allowed to... We're not going to do it for him. We're not going to sell him.
Exactly.
He's got to sell himself.
He comes in... It'd be that thing about... We wouldn't have music in Russia if this was going on in Russia. Decadent Western music. He just comes down quietly. That can actually be sort of quite a powerful thing.
Well, under the Iron Curtain, obviously Bourne music was very popular, like music etched into old X-rays. So.
Yeah.
But they were very fragile. You could only play them a few times, so maybe he's used them so many.
This is his comeback.
Times.
They'd done 2 dress rehearsals for it. What do you mean it's broken? Well, it was on a very thin X-ray, sir. A very thin X-ray.
He was a man who clearly had some kind of horrible growth on his lung.
My best friend died, bringing that back from...
Aren't you from Minneapolis?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
I'm so relieved.
Here's my CD. I'm so relieved. I got in too dark with my character.
Oh, I do go deep in this.
I'm not from there.
And ladies and gentlemen, his opponent from Lithuania, weighing 123 kilos, the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff.
But he's actually coming back after a hiatus. In the mid-'80s, he was the big Russian heel. He had a brilliant main event against Ric Flair at the Great American Bash 1985, where it looked almost certain he was going to win that belt. He was just an unstoppable monster. Flair made his entrance in a helicopter in the stadium, which, again, was brilliant.
Love it.
He's also got a body that would not be out of place in the modern wrestling world. And so, kind of a trailblazer. I think he was slightly limited by the Russian gimmick, even though they would make him a good guy later and he'd team up with Sting and he'd be fairly popular, but it always slightly held him back. But it always felt like there was more to him than we ever saw, I think, Nikita Koloff. The time that he'd actually taken off building up to this, and this was his big return, was actually to look after his wife who had been suffering from cancer.
Right.
And so there's a lot about it that I find very sympathetic, that I like. And when I see him perform in this, I go, gosh, you are a better performer than I think you're given credit for. That said, I mean, he does just do kicks and clotheslines. And there is a funny thing, it's a bit like Big Show's knockout punch. If your finishing move is a clothesline, you could just step in the ring and you just have to try and hit it 3 times. And if it hits the 3rd time, then you've won. And instead, he does other clotheslines. Well, don't do other clotheslines. Do your Russian sickle clothesline. There's no point just going, that's a normal one. That is a normal one.
Was that what? No.
This is the special one.
This is the best one.
Do the special one each time. Because when you see it, it's actually no different from the ordinary ones. It's just the commentators call for it. So when he starts waving his arm, you're like, oh, maybe he's getting all the, I don't know, blood has metal in it, doesn't it? Getting all that to the front. That'll be a right whack. A right whack.
The Russian sickle, and that is a conclusive victory.
Ladies and gentlemen,
that's a big victory for Nikita Koloff.
Nikita Koloff.
Fans, we'll be going to our colleague Tony Schiavone in just a few moments with a